live. So I haven't used Zoom to stream through Restream.
Yeah, it's been a while for you.
Yeah. So I'm hoping I got it right.
It says it's recording, got a little live in the corner.
Yeah.
Okay, it says
I see it on the book of the face.
You see it on the book of the face?
I see it too.
You see it on the book of the face? I don't know.
Live, baby.
Okay, let me see if that's on the pages.
What's this topic so I can put on my page?
So we are going to be talking about, because I know that you have been seeing all the divorces that's been happening in the news these past couple of days, especially, right? And so I've been finding myself in heated debates with folks all day about these divorces, and the general consensus has been that, you know, from men is that, you know, it's the woman's fault. She's given up. She's filing for divorce. It's been a lot of misogyny thrown around. A lot of, when you take vows for better or for worse. So if you unhappy, you miserable, and you're not getting what you need out the marriage, you're supposed to stay in it. It's just been a lot of ill-informed nonsense. And I said, you know what? This was not what I was going to talk about, but it needs to be talked about, because the whole thing of breaking up families keeps coming into well, what about you breaking up families? But it's like, no, you're ending your marriage, and kids need to have a safe environment to grow, to flourish, to be healthy. And if mom and dad are not getting along, and if mom, who's the person that's the primary caregiver, is not good and not mentally healthy or emotionally healthy, she's not going to be able to provide a stable, healthy environment for her offspring. So I wanted to have this conversation, but in an effort to always hold myself accountable, I try never to speak from a man's perspective, because I'm not an identifying male. And so I thought it would be good to have our who won't really accept the title, but our honorary co-host here today,
because he's
Mr. Russell, to kind of chime in on this, because, you know, you an upstanding brother, and I respect your opinion. Brother?
I'm not married. I'm not married.
Brother. And neither
is these folks. These folks ain't married.
But that be the main
thing. Wow.
That be the main thing. And I was trying to hold it, because, you know, I got a lot to say.
I know you.
To be honest with you, I got a lot to say today.
Come through, sis.
Right here, I got a lot to say.
I know.
But I know the main people talking smack is not married, ain't never been married, and probably ain't gonna get married. Let's be honest.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I said what I said.
You said what you said.
Okay.
I ain't mad at you. You said what you said. you said you had said it what you had said.
And you heard me when I said it, and I meant it when I said it.
And I agree with you. It's not even about the fact of if they've been married. It's the fact that they're going into it already with this mentality that surely they won't get married, or it won't be successful if they do.
That's why I said that last part, and probably ain't gonna never get married. Because my thing is, and if they do, I'm not sure how healthy their relationship is gonna be. Let's say that. Because there's a lot of people that get married and know good and doggone well the stuff is toxic and choose to get married anyway. So, you know, it's that type of relationships out here in the world, but those aren't the ones we want to focus on today. My thing is, as a whole of society, and I mean this with every fiber of energy within me, mind your business. How are you all in somebody else's relationship? You don't know nothing about these people's relationship. You don't know nothing about what's happening in their household. Mind your business.
Mind your business. I ain't mad at you, sis. I 100% approve this message. I think what was just annoying for me though is that part or that piece about women always giving up. Women be giving up. They be giving up. It's like,
how do you a friend of mine who's not going to probably be watching this, so I can give some details, whatever.
Oh, you don't
Long
know.
time ago, long time ago, they got married, and I was happy about them being married. I was so happy, and I'm all for marriage and being together. I'm all for it. In less than 5 years, they got divorced. I want to say reconcilable differences is pretty much the basis of it. Don't want to get any further than that. But I was upset for them because I wanted them to win. Didn't know much about her. I knew much about him, and I was his friend. And so I felt, I wasn't mad about them being divorced. I was just like, man, whatever's going on, in my mind, y'all just got married. Y'all can work through it on some level. In my mind, that's how young I was in the idealistic thinking. Come to find out that I don't think she was as loyal and faithful as she should have been. Put it like that. Okay. So that's not giving up. That's I had my limit. You crossed my limit. Now the marriage, the contract, the love, the lust, the loyalty is broken. So when people say, so I understood that. So even though I was upset to see them separate, I knew why he had to do it, because it's hard to come back from cheating like that, and for anybody, let alone a marriage. Because I believe in sanctity of marriage. So when I see people cheat, I see people get divorced because of cheating. It really upsets me on a personal level, because that's just something that is not part of my personal lifestyle with my grandparents and my parents and stuff like that. People that fall out of love, they argue and stuff don't work out, but the actual cheating part, that's not really my thing. So I hate to hear people saying people gave up. It's not about giving up. It's about your threshold has been crossed and there's no reconciliation from that. And you have to do what you have to do for your sake, because why be in something miserable and hurting, right, and hurting yourself in the process just for the sake of saying that you're married or you're in something. That's how I feel.
And you choosing you. I feel like, right, if it comes to a point, and this is where you should mind your business, just people, anyone who feel like you want to have a say so about somebody else's life, boldly. You don't know. You're not in that relationship. No matter what stuff looks like on social media, no matter how stuff seems in passing at functions or whatever, you don't know what's happening in anybody's household. It could be real cute on the outside. But like Dre said, if boundaries are being crossed, if rules of engagement are being broken, then we said this before we started the show. If the contract is broken, then the contract is broken. If you broke your end, don't have me over there trying to stitch it back together. It takes two people to be in a working, healthy relationship. One person can't do it by themselves. So the one you said earlier, Sante, they say, oh, that person filed for divorce, so it's that person's fault. No, that person was just tired.
And something I want to really, I feel like I have this conversation a lot, and not just necessarily when somebody is getting a divorce, but just period, when they either in a marriage or entering into a marriage. And, I'm not going to act like I'm the marriage expert. I'm not, but I got a few years behind my belt at this point. I got some tenure in there at this point, but what I think people fail to understand, and, even in this case, like, everybody focuses on one vow in a marriage.
Come on.
And that's fidelity. But you stand up there and you make a lot of other vows. Yeah. All of the vows that you make to that person is an agreement. And if you are, making it that spiritual connection, you're making that agreement with God. Mm-hmm. And the person that you're getting married to, that you're going to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And right. Everybody just focuses on that one vow, but you can break vows in other ways. You can break trust in other ways than being unfaithful. or just
It's
having
those non-negotiables.
it's a non-negotiable. And I get so frustrated when people like try and put an importance level on certain vows over others. You're making all,
and when they do that for other people,
you can't. First off, you shouldn't be doing that for anybody. So when you enter into a marriage, you can't assume that the vows that you're giving to or making to that other person, that the way that those vows will make them feel, like you get to determine how important they are. So like you can't say for your mate, you should only feel like I broke my vow, or you should only be hurt, or it should only be detrimental enough to break our marriage if I cheat. Like, but if you're being dishonest, if you're not taking care of your household, if you're neglecting your wife, if you are verbally, emotionally, and spiritually abusing your wife, you don't get to say, well, those things it's not the worst thing I could do to you because I didn't do this. Like, all of that stuff is bad. Every single thing that you break in a marriage, every vow you break is equally important. You don't get to put a level of importance on those vows for you, for the person you're marrying or anyone else. Like, you just can't say that.
You know how they got drugs and category? They got like a category 1 drug. That's how people doing these vows. Like, no, that's just a lower level vow. I can get away with that one a couple times.
Very interesting. And it's frustrating because when you see people having these conversations, it'd be like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, you don't get to determine what somebody else's non-negotiables are and when is enough for them is enough. Like, you don't get to say that. You don't get to say, well, I don't feel like that's grounds for that person to get divorced. You don't know what is grounds for that person to get divorced. I say at this point, we are team healthy. If my relationships with anyone isn't healthy, I don't care if it's marriage, if it's a business arrangement. You look, I don't care if it's an employee-employer relationship. Let it go. Like, if it's not serving you in a positive way, and that doesn't mean that it's gonna be rainbows and butterflies every day. Marriage is not for the faint of heart. It's not for the faint of heart. But it doesn't mean that you have to, ride or die. I want to ride and live. I do not want to ride and die.
You feel me? I'm trying to ride and flourish. You feel me? I'm trying to ride and be successful. I'm trying to ride and keep my peace. I'm not trying to die. I'm trying to live. And I think that's the thing too. When we talk about this, and it goes both ways for men and for women. Everybody deserves to live in a healthy environment, especially when it comes to living situations. The person you marry is your live-in forever, okay? And if y'all ever dated anybody and moved in, or married somebody and moved in, y'all know that's a different vibe, okay, than just going out on the weekends or whatever, spending the night, go home. When you live with someone, that is different, okay? Peace. They say be his peace, be her peace, be the peace, be each other's peace, first of all.
Supposed to be.
And you have to talk about everything. People try to skip so many steps when it comes to relationships. You have to talk about everything. Sante, you were saying like you can't determine somebody else's non-negotiables or how important one vow is over the other. We can't assume either. Like, we have to absolutely have these hard conversations about every aspect of our lives. I'm a questioner. I come up with random questions. You be walking down the street and I'll be like, you like dog? No, okay. That's important.
Let's emphasize on certain things. Like, hypothetical questions are fun, but that's not the questions you should be asking.
No, that's why I said no. Dogs is important to me because I can't be living with no big old animal. That's a non-negotiable for me. If you have a huge pet, we can no longer be together because I'm not gonna make you choose me over your dog. The dog been there longer. We can't be together. Like,
you can't love my dog.
From a distance, I can, but not in a living situation.
You can't love my dog, woman.
From a distance, like, I will pet your dog when I come visit. But if we talking about being together, like living together. I can't have no big old slobbery fireball in my house.
But the dog may love you. Like, it may love your guts.
And I may love that dog from a distance.
I can't with that.
I'm
This
just
is
saying.
this is
That's
a
the real
I,
thing for me. So
I,
that's not
I,
a
I totally,
hypothetical.
I
That's a
totally,
real life if you have a large animal. I don't know how long.
Well, when I say hypothetical, I mean just like these questions that don't matter where you get caught up on having arguments about and stuff. I mean that the question. So when I tell people or give them advice, like my advice when people get married is so different. It has changed so much over these years, and it'd be funny because every so often I'll see myself on a video or something from a wedding. I was giving advice, and I'm like, that girl didn't know shit. Like she didn't know shit. Like she didn't know.
You was green. You was green.
Look, I'm
you
trying to
seasoned
tell
now.
you.
Seasoned.
So I tell people
Got
first
that love.
and foremost, one of the things you should be talking about before you get married is how were you raised? How were you raised? What was that person's childhood like? What type of positive and negative things about child rearing did they get from their own upbringing? Because if you're planning on having a family, one of the biggest things you will fight about is how to rear your children, because you may have two very different ideas of how that should go, or you may have two very different ideas of what it means to love your kids. So you need to know what that is. You need to
not only that, about raising kids in the future, asking about someone's upbringing in childhood uncovers traumas early.
Oh, all of that. But you're gonna get all of that because if you don't have that conversation, undoubtedly those traumas will surface in parenting. They're gonna surface in your parenthood. And so you want to kind of know, like, can I deal with that? Do I have the patience of co-parenting through that? Like, can this person unlearn that? So those are things that you definitely want to ask. I also say people narrow it down, talk about finances and stuff, but I think that that's very surface because like you need to dig deep. You need, it's more than just how much money you got in your bank and where your credit score at. Like, what is the long-term plan for financial goals? Like, how do you all think you're going to want to pay for college? What type of career motivation do you have? Like, where do you see yourself career-wise in the future, and how
and spending habits? Because how much you got in your account is one thing, but how much you spending out of that, or think you gonna spend out of mine out of that is another.
All of that, like we don't dive deep enough into a lot of these questions before we jump into something, and a lot of the expectation is very old, very archaic from like our grandparents. And I have to tell people, like, listen, a lot of y'all grandmamas stay because they didn't have a choice. They didn't stay because they just loved your granddaddy so much and it was team married forever. And you have to understand that these 50 plus year folks still married. You have no idea the skeletons, the traumas, the things that they have gone through in their marriage. And because they're very private, not all parents or grandparents are going to divulge that information to you. Not everybody's going to know that. So from the outside, it looks like these marriages were perfect, but you don't know what type of, things and mountains they had to climb. And there's a lot of people's grandmothers that would have left if they could have, but it was a different time. So they had to be with their mates literally for survival. Women don't need that no more. So y'all have to learn how to be likable, and y'all have to actually learn how to care for your women. You just providing for them ain't gonna be enough because they don't need that from you. They're looking for companionship. They're looking for partnership. And a lot of men have never been taught to love somebody from that capacity. They have not learned it whatsoever.
To be 100% honest, a lot of men, and nowadays a lot of women as well, aren't taught how to love themselves, let alone someone else. There's a lot of, let's say this, for women in particular, we are kind of raised to be people pleasers. Men, and Dre, you let me know if this is wrong or not.
I'm listening.
But women are raised to be people pleasers. You got to cook, you got to clean, you got to make the grades, you got to look good, you got to do all these things. And on top of that, you're trained, if you want to get a man, this is how you keep him, this is what you do. Men are not taught that for the most part. Am I wrong?
I feel like women are taught to be nurturers and to care for people.
I think what you're talking about, I think what you're talking about could be considered archaic by today's standards. or traditional or outdated by today's standards. And I say that because you don't see in the environment that we see out there now actual, unless I don't see. Now, I'm not saying they don't exist. Let me just say that they don't exist. But in our environment, we don't see the nurturers. We don't see those people that we're talking about. They're not being raised like that anymore because the environment doesn't speak to that anymore. So you don't have that anymore. What we're talking about,
out here now.
what we're talking about is old school. Is what we know growing up. Our generation coming up after this is not going to have that experience unless it's being instilled on them by our generation, period. You can tell by the way these kids are dealing with each other, just period, how they interact. It's different now. It's different in the way love songs are made and TV shows, and just the environment that's going on is different now. It's not about nurturing, it's about getting mine. It's about getting the bag in relationship, period. And if that means getting over, that means finessing, and that means whatever the case may be. That's the environment that we have now. So we're seeing the end of that era where women are being raised as nurturers and men being raised for anything for that matter, because who's raising them to do that? Unless you have that already in your circle, in your environment, you're going to learn on the street. You're going to learn from who's around you. You're going to learn from trial and error, which means babies and other stuff going on. It just means unless a man decides that he's going to learn or pick up somebody that's around to teach him right, there's going to be a lot of trial and error kids out here. You see what I'm saying? It's going to be a lot of trial and error relationships.
You said something real important that I don't want to skate over though, Dre, and I want to go back to, and I want everybody to kind of give their perspectives on it. So we talked about, or you talked about, or brought up about the fact that the newer generations aren't being brought up in those same type of teachings or morals, etc. But how did we get there? How did and that's the point that I keep trying to make with folks. And I feel like it's the biggest point that we're missing. And it's the biggest obstacle we have to jump over in order for us to get to a place where we can connect and have that family unit again and have more marriages and have that. Why do you think our girls are there? Because I could tell you why I was there, because I was that girl. I was that girl that did not want to get married. I did not want to have I was like, I ain't never get married and I ain't never having no kids. Now, granted, at one point I wasn't sure if I would be able to have children, but I was okay with it too. Because at that point I was like, well, I'll make my peace with it because this ain't for me. This life is not for me. I feel like until there's some acknowledgement of the level of trauma that has happened, the way that women, especially Black women, have been made to feel in our communities and the world, the way we have to navigate and go through the world, the harder it's going to be to even find a place of restorativeness where we are providing that nurture, we are providing that care, because Black women are tired. We have done that. We have cared and sutured everybody else's wounds while we bleed. And now we're tired of bleeding all over the place and nobody patching us up. We get high fives for still functioning under pressure, under stress, and under trauma, but nobody's addressing like the issue. So how do you think, from your perspective, from your experiences, from you talking and dealing with the next generation every day, how do we get there?
We got there by the evolution of just society. I mean, our needs change. Our needs have changed because of who's around and who's raising us. We don't have, how many big mamas do we know that's going to be within our generation? Unless they're made to be that way because of what they choose to do. Right now, I know one person. No, well, there's a handful of women that are in our generation. Even though I'm older than you guys, but I feel like in our generation, there are a few people that could qualify as big mamas because A, they're still young, but they have the nurturing capacity to be big mama for the community, for their kids, for their extended family. They have that ability to be big mama. Okay. But even their definition of big mama is still nuanced now because they got to go with the times. The big mama back in the day didn't go out anywhere. She went shopping, she took care of her business, and she came home. Big mamas don't do that no more. You know what I'm saying?
His mama's going out on Saturday night.
They going out, they kicking it, they have margarita
And they gonna be
nights,
cute
they
when
do
they go.
whatever, but they still do they still nurture their families, accordingly. The look is different now. They're not walking around in muumuus and being like that, even though muumuus are cool. So I hear, you know what I'm saying? But they're not out there like that. You know, there's not, the look is different, is nuanced. And that might not be so much of a bad thing. When you go back and look at tradition is the practice of rituals and tendencies carried over from one generation to another. That cycle has been broken because the families have been broken. Period. That's it. It is what it is. The families have been broken to it. So unless you have the individuals that have to keep that practice going, unless you have that to keep the cycle going, to keep the legacy going, talk about legacies and building legacies, unless you have that mentality to continue legacies and to teach your kids this and to teach your kids to treat a woman right and to court a woman and not do this, not do that. If you teach a young lady how to be a young lady and not be, whatever, that they could be negative, unless that stuff is taught within the family or within the people that's working with the families on some level, is going to be lost. It's going to be lost because there's nobody practicing that now, because who do you have around to look at to be your role models for that outside the family? Can you identify outside people to be those role models that you can say, our role models that we thought were our role models aren't our role models no more? Come on now. But Bill Cosby and everybody else that going on, they gone. We don't have role models anymore. We got to build new role models.
Here's the thing, though. I don't know. I kind of feel a little differently about that. And here's why. As somebody that grew up around marriage, I know more married people than not. If I go back and recall my environment and folks that I was around, most of the adults in my life were either married or in common law marriages, whether the state acknowledged them or not. They were in long-term relationships where, as a kid, I didn't even know that they weren't married. I thought that they were husband and wife, right?
That was Uncle so-and-so.
I mean, I did not know that they weren't married. To me, it was like they were married. I mean, you understand a little bit better as you start to get older, right? But as a child, I saw marriage. I saw those relationships. I saw those two-parent households. I saw more two-parent households than I saw not. So with that being said, I saw also a lot of pain. I saw a lot of women, like, the reason I didn't want to get married is because none of the women I knew who was married were happy. They were not happy. They didn't have the life, like you said, like Big Mama, while, granddaddy out in the streets living his best damn life. The mamas, Big Mama was at home tending to the kids with no life, her whole everything was just taking care and servitude to others. And so I grew up seeing women being unhappy, even if they weren't doing it like, our grandmothers did or whatnot. They were still primarily like they were going to work and bringing a bag home like their spouses. Then they still was trying to cook and clean and help with homework and do the whatever. And it was like, damn, do y'all get to do anything for yourself? It was like nothing for them. So one of the biggest reasons I didn't want to get married was because I didn't want that life. I was just like, I matter. I want to be happy. If I want to do something, I want to be able to do it. I don't want my whole life to just be about serving others and I don't have anything for myself. And I think that as the generations have gone, we have really been looking at relationships from our past with a different lens. Like, as an adult, and I've been starting to process some of that stuff I saw in those marriages, I was like, I didn't realize that was going on then because I was a kid. But now I get it. Now I understand, like, how did they stay together with that? Like, what must they have gone through when this was happening in their marriages. So I feel like it's more than just families being broken up. I feel like women were broken down. They were broken down. They were not cared for the way that they wanted to be cared for. And it was a miserable existence. But because they did it with a smile and it felt good for the other side, it was like, well, that's what it was supposed to be. And it's rooted in patriarchy. And women are pushing back at that. They're like, no, I don't have to be in servitude. I don't have to just focus on you. Like, I matter too. My happiness, my joy, and my desires matter too.
And I think it's a balance of both.
Yes, yeah.
I think when I listen to Dre, absolute fact, y'all know me, but why? There was a whole lot of powers that be and things in place to literally and purposefully break down the Black family. Absolute fact. That's proven facts, right? And at the same time, you do have the generation that I was talking about, that where women were kind of trained to, like you actually just said, be people pleasers. They're just there to please and help others. They're not a person with feelings and needs. They're there to do services for others, right? And then I feel like there was a shift after that where women was like, F that noise. And then they went the other way. And I say this, and I used to say it all the time, but I still 100% think it's true. I feel like men always have been, I'm gonna use my air quote, men. You know how they be like, oh, men will be men, boys will be boys type of situation. I'm raising one, not mine. But anyway. And I know some great men who do not subscribe to that narrative. I know amazing men who ain't the man you talking about, right? Because that's not a man in my eyes. A man in my eyes is the opposite of what y'all talking about. Men will be men or boys will be boys. And so with that, there have always been some men that behaved in that manner, that were womanizers, even if they were married. We all have probably heard several stories about Paw and them back in the day having a family up the street and grandma was cooking 2 meals, all right? Like, and dropping off groceries over at their house. And she had to endure that for whatever reason. Again, we weren't in that household to know. But that has always been the case. Papa has always been a rolling stone. Somebody had a Paw out here rolling, okay? The thing is, though, is at that point, we had the people pleasers, raising people pleasers, to be honest. And then somewhere in the middle, women was like, nah. Somewhere in between that, government was like, all right, Black men, you can't be in a household if you ain't got enough money to take care of your kids, so we can take care of it. Right? All the other things and crack and a whole lot of other stuff that came into play to break down the family structure, I think, to get us to where we are today. But I think the balance is understanding that both of those things happen, that we're at fault and that other people are too. And then saying, okay, now what can we do differently, right? What can we do differently to change this narrative to create this shift? I also agree 100% that it's rough out here now. Ain't nobody trying to care for the most part. I'm not going to say nobody. It's a lot of people that's not trying to care and not trying to feel when it comes to these relationships. But if we're talking about not having divorces, if we're talking about keeping happy relationships or even going into happy relationships to begin with, we have to really talk about communication. Oh, we need to talk about everything. Like going back to what I said before, you have to break it down, put everything on the table at the beginning. If you don't, we end up in these situations where divorce is probably going to be inevitable because now you're seeing things that you didn't ask about earlier on. Or now, those rose-colored glasses, the tint then wore off, and now you're starting to see things that was already there that you were trying to ignore. And
can we go back and take it to the root?
The root to the tutor. Let's get it.
Because I feel like it's the trauma.
It's all trauma. That's so exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's the trauma first. So even before we have a conversation or communication about what the expectation looks like in a marriage, there is some work that we need to do as a group of people that has to happen before that, because a lot of minds are warped. Like, this conversation today, I was like, people are out there, like they are so far gone that they're like, I can't even imagine there ever being a place or a way to have a healthy conversation to get to that. There's only a handful of people that are starting their healing and really understand the role that they play in that root of it, because like we got to deal with that. I feel like it's something wrong with us as a society.
It is. It
and how we're looking at marriage and how we look at each other, how we look at women being for the pleasure of men only. Like they're not allowed to have feelings or, motivation if they want to be independent in some way. Like we need to understand the root of that, because a big reason too, outside of the whole thing of breaking down families, is there was a lot of abuse. And it wasn't just like physical abuse, it was emotional abuse. It was financial
Some
abuse.
of it was physical.
Some of it was physical, but I'm saying it wasn't always just the physical. Sometimes it was, I'm gonna be a hoe and you're gonna have to deal with it. Because
it was a smorgasbord of abuse.
Or I make the money and I get to say how it gets spent. You don't get to do this or that, or you don't get to have a life. You don't get to have aspirations. You don't get to have anything else out of what I say you should have and how it benefits me. And I feel like
and that still stands to a certain extent today with mindset of people, men, but some women as well, where it's like, how dare you feel like you can leave because he's the man? He should be able to do these things. How dare you feel like you should be able to leave? And I think that's going into what you were saying about how they attack the women when it comes to divorce situations. Like, he should be able to do whatever and you should stay. You gave up. When in reality, going back to what Dre was saying earlier, is no, my boundaries were crossed and I chose me. And women have the right to say that, just as men have the right to say that. Both parties have the right to say, I set these boundaries, and when they are crossed, I burn the bridge. Like, I'm gone.
Period.
and that's how it should be, again, for both parties. If you are disrespected, if you are not being treated the way you ought to be treated, then it's time to go. It's time to leave. And I don't think anyone should have a problem with that, especially when you can do it mutually. When it's like, okay, it's not working. You want me to do that? I can't do that. So we're done here. All right, thank you so much. And sometimes it has to be as simple as that.
I agree.
I think all the time it should be as simple as that. I think people be losing their mind in divorces and be doing a whole lot of extra stuff that is absolutely unnecessary. Because hurt feelings, hurt people and trauma and all of that. Right. But why can't you just have a conversation and move on? If it's not working, it's not working.
Because everybody can't. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No,
go ahead, Dre.
I mean, I come to find out that a lot of people just can't have this conversation. They just not built for it. And because we're not built to be open with our communication for a lot of different reasons. And we talked about this plenty of times before. You're asking really good, really relevant, really heartfelt, open, honest questions that deserve to be answered from both parties. But it's on a case-by-case basis, because I really don't think as a group that men are able to either communicate everything the way they're supposed to be as a whole. Not saying, because I can see something saying my man can, whatever. I get that, but I'm saying everybody just can't. I've seen it, I've seen it. And on the flip side, there are a lot of women that can't handle when the man is communicating, how they communicate and what they're saying, and therefore giving a safe space for the man to communicate. So that's an issue too. In other words, if you're saying I want to hear from you and I want you to talk to me, and we're like, okay, I don't know, because I don't think you're gonna listen, or you're gonna, give me the feedback or whatever, and they finally open up, and then it turns to be something that was not cracked up to be. That man is shutting down, and he ain't gonna talk to you or the next person. You see what I'm saying? Because you already done It's like it's like that old Chris Rock joke. You know what I'm saying? If you tell me, I won't get mad. If you talk to me, I won't get mad. Okay, I'll tell you. And they got mad. It's like that's reality to that. And that's the reality of the fact of men not being open to communicate because of that issue. And that issue, I don't say alone, but it's a big issue. Is if I tell you what's going on, if I tell you I'm hurting in whatever way, and I don't get the response. Not saying you got to coddle anybody. Not saying you got to their feelings or nothing like that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying listen and provide that safe space to communicate and give a response, not to badger, not to talk, I told you so, all that stuff, or even even make fun of it or make light of it or anything that could be, break down the man's comfort level to talk. You're not gonna hear from him ever again. He's gonna shut down. And that happens a lot. So even when I'm talking to the kids, there's a student at my job that she's going through a lot right now, and as they all are. But when she talks, she automatically starts crying and sobbing and doing all this stuff that I'm uncomfortable hearing, because I'm like, oh my God, And then on top of that, when I'm listening, and what I'm listening to isn't nothing for me, because what you got going on is something that's like, not only is it personal, but it's something that's really like, are you really upset about this, or you just really want to just talk about it? And if you want to talk about it, I'll let you talk about it all day long, because at the end of the day, you're gonna do what you want to do, because it's you. And on top of that, it's something that's out of my hands. I'm not in your house going about or want to, whatever. I can give you some advice, talk to social services, whatever. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of stuff that's heavy. But I'm listening. I'm just there to listen.
Have you heard of learned helplessness? Learned helplessness.
Learn help? No, I never have heard of that.
So I just last night actually, I was watching it was a quick video. I think it was on Instagram about learned helplessness, and it was a white lady psychologist, and she did an experiment in a classroom full of teenagers, right? And so what she did, they had to take words and like unscramble them into another word, right? And so all of them had like 3 words they had to do. So she gave them time. She said, okay, go ahead, do the first one. Not meant to be difficult. Just go ahead and do it. When you're done, raise your hand. So people get to raising their hand, and other people never did. They couldn't figure out their word. And so the next person, the next word, she like, okay, let's just move on to the next one. Do the next one. When you're done, raise your hand. Same thing happened, right? And the last one, she's like, okay, do the next one. Raise your hand when you're done. She gave 1/2 of the room for the first 2 easy ones, like easy, like 3-letter words. And then the other one, their words were literally impossible to unscramble into a new word. And so what happened was, when they did the first one, and it was like a 3-letter word for other people, so they got done real quick, and those hands went up, and they still looking at their paper like, I don't know what this is. They felt hopeless and helpless. They was like, oh man, something's wrong with me. They done super quick, and I don't know. But she gave them 2 separate things. It was impossible for them to figure it out. And then the next word was the same thing. The word was impossible. Theirs was a little bit longer, but it was possible to figure out. I think it was like America when they unscrambled it or something like that. And then the last word was exactly the same for both sides. But by the time that other half that was already so defeated by word 1 and 2 got to word 3, they still couldn't figure it out, because at that point it was a mental game. They felt hopeless and defeated already from 1 and 2. So by the time they got to 3, they couldn't figure that out either. Even though it was the same word as the other people, and it was an actual word this time, they could have figured it out, right? So it was learned helplessness. So she went back and she asked them, and she's like, so, how did you feel? After she explained everything to him, she said, how did you feel when, you got to that first word and everybody started raising their hands super quick and you couldn't figure it out? And they're like, I felt confused. I felt like I couldn't do it. I felt like it was a problem with me. I felt, all the things. And then she asked how they felt with the second one. And then those feelings got worse and it intensified. And she said, now how about that third one? Because it was the same word, what happened? And one young man said, my confidence was shot by the time I got to that third one. So I couldn't even really try. Right? And so I feel like that's what's happening with relationships and the traumas that we go through in life is learned helplessness, right? A lot of times that trauma starts in the household. We feel like we can't try. We feel like if we do something, we get it wrong, we get yelled at, we don't even want to do nothing no more. You know what I'm saying? Like all of these things. And then you get into relationships and certain things start to happen. And it's all learned helplessness. So we get to the point where we don't even want to try anymore. And so that's what I was thinking about when you were saying, if I open up to you and then you immediately shut me down or do the opposite of what I need in this moment, then I'm not going to want to do that again. My confidence is shot. I'm not going to be able to open up to anybody else. I'm not even going to be able to open up to you again because of how you responded. And that's how we're moving through relationships, and that's how we're moving through life. And that trauma is being passed down from our elders who are raising us. And unfortunately, a lot of the times we're passing down that same trauma and energy to our children. So when you're talking about how these kids out here now, everybody for themselves and ain't nobody caring no more, it's because that learned helplessness got passed down. And then now everybody's going through these interactions and these relationships with these walls already up, these guards already up, because they don't want to be hurt.
I kind of feel like there is some truth to what you're saying, but I also think that we need to understand that there are two sets of realities and two sets of rules that both, girls and boys are raised under traditionally. So as a Black woman, I wasn't taught that I had the space to be helpless or hopeless. I was bred, I was trained, I was brought up to understand that I am going to have to endure to make it to the finish line. I'm gonna have to run the marathon, not the race, because it's going to be difficult for me. I'm not gonna get out what I'm putting in. I'm not gonna be seen as a whole person. I'm gonna be disrespected. I am responsible for myself, no matter what happens or what another person does, or if it's wrong or right. I ultimately am responsible by what I do or what I don't do. We are taught to endure under all circumstances and keep moving. I think Black men haven't been taught the same way. They've kind of been taught that they get a sense of entitlement to some things, that because they are male, because they are a man, that they're already up here, and us women should come to them and acknowledge that they are men and they are up here. And I feel like that is a huge disconnect, because now women are saying, absolutely not. I'm not doing that. I'm not nurturing you. I'm not coddling you. I'm not doing this for you, because who waters me? I don't get watered like that. Who takes care of me? I don't get taken care of like that. So I have to always be graceful. I have to always be a beacon of strength for you, but who is strong for me? Who protects me emotionally? Who protects me mentally? Who protects me spiritually? Like, you don't even understand what I need. As a person that is surrounded by married women, I talk to married women all the time. And the general consensus that I get from most married women is that their husbands do not understand what they truly need. They don't get what they need. They aren't giving them what they need. And then what happens? The intimacy leaves. So then women aren't having sex with their mate.
And does that conversation come?
But that's the thing. There is a huge issue and a huge gap in communication, because people are constantly providing love based on what their idea of love is. People haven't understand that loving another person is based on what that person needs to feel loved, safe, cared for, etc.
Going back to love languages. If somebody just want a hug, you buying them a diamond ring ain't gonna do nothing.
Yeah, and it's deeper than just like the 5 love languages of acts of service. It's deeper than just that. Like, while I think that that's a beautiful basis for understanding that certain things take priority or hits differently for people in relationships, I really feel that this idea of what women are and what they need has been so misconstrued in society over years and years and years that they feel so tired and uncared for that they can't open themselves up for that. They're in protection mode. They're in protect my peace mode. At this point, a lot of women is just like, I just need to be happy because, they tried it. And to assume that women haven't tried it, that they haven't tried to give that conversation or explain. We talk all the time about how women are usually very communicative. They're communicating, they're saying stuff even when you don't want them to say stuff.
Like, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not saying that they did not try or they were not trying to have those conversations. My reason for asking that is because I'm gonna be honest, I've been there. You know what I'm saying? I lived that life, okay? I drank the Kool-Aid, I got married, right? Yes, all of those things. And then I got divorced. It was real quick, actually. Maybe like a year or so, 2 years, maybe. All right? Real quick turnaround. And for me, I was a people pleaser. I was that one. Doing above and beyond, taking the BS, picking up all the slack. And then I got tired. And then I had a baby. And I was like, I can't take care of both of y'all. I gotta pick one. And I pick him. Like, I pick my son, okay? Because I birthed him. He's an actual baby. I'm gonna take care of him. I don't have the energy for both. But the conversations were had. That was my thing. Once the conversations are had and you can't meet the needs, then it's time to go. And that was, in my opinion, that was when I had to leave, because I'm telling you what I need. And you literally are saying to me that you will not give me these things. I'm speaking up for myself now and telling you exactly what I can and can't do based on where I am physically and emotionally and spiritually right now. And you're not good with that because you still need me to be Mighty Mouse. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we both can't come to a resolution without me having to be the one that always bends, then I can't be here because I'm not going to be fulfilled. I'm not going to be happy. And similar to what you said, I ain't going for that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you may go for a while. I went for a while. I was out here bending backs, okay? But at a certain point, it's like, no, I deserve more. And if you can't meet me there, then I'll see you later.
There's a couple things I want to go into, but I want Dre's opinion on a question very specifically in just a second. But before this, came up, I also found myself about a week or two ago in some heavy debates across different social media pages that I'm in, groups, etc., about married single mothers, right? Where there was a lot of married women saying that they feel like single mothers. And it was a firestorm. Like, people were so mad, like, you ain't a married single woman and this and that and the third. So women was explaining, like, what you can be married and you can still be a single mother. Because what people think single mother is you doing the financial stuff all by yourself, or you doing it all by yourself. But sometimes being a single mother is you the person that's taking care of them kids 99% of the time, and you do not get that much support, if any, from the other parent. If them kids are sick, if they need to go to school, if they need to do homework, like, you doing it all. And so they still feel alone because the expectation is, if you marry, you shouldn't be doing it alone. You're supposed to have a partner in this with you helping, right? But you got to go get a job, so you bring it home the bag. Like, your whole primary duty isn't just stay at home mom. Like, you working 40 hours a week too, and then you have to come home and do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, while the dads don't have that same level of responsibility. And so that is a huge reason too why there's that disconnect, and a lot of women are jumping ship, where they're like, hey, I could do this all by myself because I'm already doing it by myself. Like, I don't need to have you, an extra person, to worry about on top of all of this. So that's their way of getting rid of dead weight. It's like, I don't need an extra kid. Like, if I got these 2-3 kids that I got to deal with and take care of and be responsible for, I don't need a grown adult that is essentially feeling like another child or another burden or another responsibility. So they're jumping ship. And I think that it's so much trauma in how marriages have gone that we're going to continue to get further and further away from marriage if we don't like have a real serious heart-to-heart conversation, all no holds barred, completely transparent from both sides. Because to Dre's point earlier, there are a lot of women that's toxic too. Like, it's not just a male thing.
Oh, yeah.
There are a lot of women that are wounded birds, and they out here cutting whoever they come into contact with, and they're doing some shady business stuff. So it's not just all men. There's a lot of women out here too that are out here doing the most, and it's not the good most, it's the hurtful most. So I do want to validate that and not put it all off on men and say it's all black men fault, because it's not. We got some females out there, we have some women, some identifying women who are not doing the good work either to keep families going. But I had a question for Dre, and I'll pose this question to any men that may be watching the feed. Post it in these comments, because I need to know, Dre, where did you learn how to treat a woman? And what did you learn was the way to treat a woman? You on mute.
I forgot. I'm sorry. I thought I clicked it back off. From a variety of sources and trial and error. That's all I had. My dad wasn't exactly the best role model for that, because he was like a Rolling Stone type person, and how he treated my mom and how he treated others, and his lifestyle wasn't exactly what I wanted myself. Also, I grew up with very low self-esteem, so I did not know how to exactly approach girls. So I had to learn to figure out my style and what works for me, and that was a lot of trial and error as well. Then you got your friends who give you sometimes good advice, but mostly bad advice. Then you have different things that you just latch on to and just say, hey, that's what I want, that's what I like. I never was a person to disrespect a girl, so I didn't really call nobody out their name to this day. You know, I wasn't on that whole womanizing type mentality. I'm a look but don't touch type person. Always have been. But
he gonna look.
I'm gonna look, but I'm not gonna touch at all. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. But even at one point in time, I tried to deny that part, but it was like I got in trouble. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I got to be honest about respecting who I'm with and not do that around them. Definitely. And I learned how to do that, you know, but I mean, for the most part, it's just been really just trial and error and listening to sisters like yourself and what they go through and what they don't like and what they do like. So I can, you know, develop my style out of that, because out of anything, I want it to be liked. That's my whole core. I wanted to be liked. One thing I can say about undergrad when I was at Chicago State was I knew a lot of girls, but I didn't talk to a lot of girls. When I mean talk, I didn't like try to like get their numbers or flirt with them or
you went out here macking in these.
Not right, nothing like that. Not because I didn't think I could. I that just wasn't the energy, you know what I'm saying? Because I saw what they was dealing with a lot of brothers, a lot of men trying to holler at them. And I could sit right here and be chilling with you and get all the energy and attention I want and not have to worry about trying to date you, because that wasn't what I wanted anyway. Like I said, look but don't touch. I'm happy to be around. I'm happy to be in a room full of beautiful women and not have to worry about drama, because I'm not generating drama. You
Come on. Oh, you better speak on it.
I see you, Dre.
So that's what I liked. And that's my cheat code. So I'm learning from them on what they like, what they don't like, and how to treat and stuff like that. So when I do meet someone that I like, that I want to pursue, you know, I was always the courter. I was always the court. I'm a great courting person. When it comes to initial dates, I'm good at that because I pay attention. I do everything I gotta do and all that good stuff. There's always the relationship stuff down the line that I got problems with. But when it comes to initially dating, I can do that. I could do that. I could definitely court. I can do all of that good stuff and learn.
Bring
and
the
do
flowers.
all that.
He pulling out chairs. He pick you up, you mean?
I mean, all of that. But then you learn, and then also you learn, and then from that you learn whatever you start, you got to continue, So that's I learned that as well. So I'm not saying I'm perfect at all, you know what I'm saying? Even dealing with my girl now, I'm not perfect with it, but at least I know what to do, what not to do, and I'm trying to work on being better. So I hope that answers your question, but I learned from a lot of different sources and trial and error and what not to do and what to do, and just listening to my friends when they talk about what guys be doing when they be, trying to talk to them and what they say and what they do. I'm like, I'm not doing that. That's whack. So if I see like Natalie out,
you studying is what you're doing.
I'm trying to get Natalie's attention. I'm not going to try to do what the other man did because obviously it didn't work,
So you got in the cut watching people drown, like, okay, I'm not going
to do that. So don't turn left. Okay,
I'm
go
not
right.
Gonna do that.
Crash and burn.
I
was on, and real quick, I was on a radio show last week actually, and they asked me a similar question about.
I was watching.
Oh, yeah. So I'm not lying about anything. Like I'm like this everywhere I go. So they asked me a really good question about what would you do if you was out and you saw a sister at out with her friends? How would you get her attention? Whatever. And so my answer was strategically and respectfully, because you don't want to try to be overly aggressive or aggressive to the point to where you seem to be weird. Number one.
Please don't be weird.
No stranger dangers.
Right. It's already awkward and weird as it is. Plus, if she's with her girls, to separate her from her girls so abruptly or so initially, you got to have some balls for that. You got to be respectful. You got to break the ice. So I think my answer was to and this is me. Like I used to be really, really like, I don't want to say shy, but I was definitely like, timid around trying to talk to girls. I had to have the spirit, the energy, whatever, to go for it. Now it don't really bother me anymore. But back then it was. So it will come and go in phases where if I'm feeling it, like, oh man, let me go. Something in my head, I'm gonna pull it. So I think I said I was going to like break the ice by asking her friends, excuse me, ladies, I'm just introduce myself. But I see your friend here. I want to get her attention. Can I buy her a drink? Do you mind? Appeal to them so they can give you the blessing, so to speak.
That's a good move.
Appeal to them so they give you the blessing. It shows that you being respectful to their time and you're respecting her space. If she says no, that's fine. I did what I had to do. I'm okay with that. I'm not one of those brothers that get mad when you get shot down and I got to kill everybody. That's not me. Like, right. Fuck you then, I'm never on that level. I've never been like that. It's like, okay.
I'm gonna give you
no one should be.
Because let me tell you, back in my day, I mean, I'm 25, but back in
my day, that was a heavy back in my day, 25 years old.
Back in, I'm 25, but back in the day when I was originally 25, before
the first time.
Yeah. Hey, look now. So you cut it out now, sis. Okay. Before I was a settled down woman, and when I would go out and somebody tried to talk to me, they would buy drinks for my crew that I was with, and that was always like,
right. He buying all the drinks. You go ahead, talk to
him. That's a mad flex, but if someone, in my opinion, if someone does that as a mad flex, they're trying to really buy you. They're trying to buy you.
No, they're trying to buy your friends.
They're trying to buy your friends, and they know that your friends are going to make or break their chances, right? Because we all know,
right? Because if they look over sideways, that's gonna hurt your chance.
If the friends run interference and they not feeling it, like they gonna mess up the whole vibe. So they're trying to find a way to buy in with your friends, not by you, by them, because your friends can ruin. They can block hard, like they turn into straight on like fullbacks and stuff, like give us space because we don't like you, and so they don't want to have to meet that. I want to read a couple of the comments and then leave it up to good old Mr. Producer Robert Tate to throw it back on us, Nat. So we're gonna have to answer that question.
Thanks, Robert.
He put it in the chat, but I want to not ignore.
Wait, the question is, what would you do if we went up to talk to a guy and he was listening?
No, the question that Mr. Tate put in there that we're gonna answer in a second is, all things being equal, the same question to the women about who taught us how to treat men.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Answer that question about who taught women how to treat men. So if I got that wrong, Mr. Producer, correct me in the chat while I read the other comments here. And then after I read the comments, I guess we on the spot and we got to answer, Natalie. But we got some good comments here. We got Tony that said, you know, oftentimes men don't express their feelings because of fear of hurting their ladies' feelings. This in turn automatically makes it about their feelings. Then we have Uncle Gino, who had a lot to say, so much so Uncle Gino done pulled over, honey. He pulled over on the job and said,
come on, Gino.
Come through, Uncle Gino. He said,
let me say my piece.
He had words, okay? He said, in our society, men aren't all allowed to show hurt or pain or emotions. It's viewed as weakness, and as a result, men hold in their deepest hurts and fears. If a woman allows her man to show his deepest emotions and still see him as the strong man that he is, she'll have that man wrapped up. Oh, and she not telling her mom, sister, or best friend.
That part.
You all after the show. All right,
that part.
We ready for that call.
And brother Gino is a marriage counselor, relationship coach there. Okay,
so he know a thing or two. And so then Robert asked the question. Uncle Gino came back in the comments and said, "Ask me the question." Oh, I want to say something.
Oh Lord.
So we might even have to do a part two because Uncle Gino, like, hold on now.
I got words. Okay.
I got words. And Mr. Tate has confirmed that is the question to which he posed. So I think that he knows my answer because this is something that is still very like prevalent in my life. So I don't know. I've talked about it on this show, actually. I learned how to treat a man from having my father and my older brother and I were close. Like, my older brother was probably one of the most impactful people when it came to me wanting to date. And why I say that is because my father is a dad and he wanted to protect and postpone. So he wanted to protect me from dating and postpone it for as long as he could. So it was very difficult for him to like even talk to me about dating because he didn't want it to even be a thing. My brother was more of a protection. He was protective, but he also wanted preparation. So he wanted me to be prepared to date. And they were very different. So I had two very different ears, very different perspectives. And then I had my mom that gave me like the mom perspective where she would kind of tell me some of her experiences to kind of give me like an understanding of how things could go and that she don't want me to go. So I had my dad that was trying to postpone. I had my mom that was trying to scare me into not wanting to do it. But I had my brother who just spent so much time with me growing up, telling me the real about dating men, like telling me the real for as young as I can remember. I wasn't even thinking about dating for real, but it was like one of the things that stood out a lot was my brother spoiled the hell out of me growing up. Like, I'll never forget getting my first job and wanting to go get my favorite pair of Jordans ever. I couldn't wait to get my check. And my brother picked me up, took me to get my check. We went to the mall for me to get, I went to cash. He took me to the mall to get my Jordans. And he was like, "I'm proud of you. I'm paying for them." So my brother was like that. He wanted me to know my worth, especially because I had low self-esteem growing up. He was very much instrumental in keeping me confident, even when I didn't have the confidence. And so for him, it was whatever. One of the things he always said to me, I'll never forget this. He said, and to Dre's point, he said, "You'll never change a man's mind on you. Don't try. If he tell you what his purpose is with you, believe him the first time he says it. And if it's not what you want, walk away. You are not going to change his mind. He's going to either know what his purpose is out the gate or he's not. And he was very adamant about that. I don't want to see you trying to change no man's mind. Like, don't you do it. You're too good for that. Another thing he always told me was the standard I set early in the game is the one that will be there for the rest of the way. So if I set a standard,
gotta get up,
and I don't, check it at the door, then I got to be willing to understand that that's going to be a consistent thing throughout. It's going to be a battle I'm always going to have with that man. And so he was like talking to me like that, like, all the way raw, like, always make him wear a condom. I don't care what, men would do this. I mean, he was like,
come on, big brother. He
was in the ear. Like, he didn't play about that stuff. And one of the other things that he will also tell me, if not even just that, is that men like this, like men like that. I love to watch Robert eat. He teases me so much about this, because when I fix that man plate, I do be packing it, but I just like to see him eat. I know Dre was giving me shit when I had posted this one time and called me weird, but I grew up watching men
be over there like the witch in the gingerbread house with the kids just feeding them.
I posted, I said Robert was calling me weird because I get happy when I cook dinner and I'm watching him enjoy my dinner. I get happy about that. I'm like, oh, he eating. I just love that. I get happy. But I grew up cooking for my brother and my brothers from other mothers. So all my brother's friends are my older brothers. So when they would come over, I'd be cooking, going to get beers, like take care of them. And it didn't make me feel like I was serving them in a bad way. I wanted to take care of my brothers because I love them. And I understood that this made them feel loved. This was one of their love languages. They felt loved and they felt cared for when I fed them or somebody brought them something to eat. To Dre's point, that grilled cheese. I used to make grilled cheese.
What was it? Grilled cheese and lemonade? What was it?
Grilled cheese. Was it lemonade? That's what it is. That's what it is.
Good.
So I learned a lot of that from my brother. I learned a lot of that from watching my mother, how she cared for men. And my mom had a lot of male friends, and it wasn't no funny business going on. It's just that she loved to cook and watch men eat. So, me and her friends will bring like all these groceries for everybody to eat just because they wanted her to cook. So I watched my mom care for people, care for men, care for my father. I watched her give him grace at times where it was like, how's she doing that? And my dad, my father also talked to me about that. I was his princess. It was like, if he can't do for you what I do for you, then he can't do nothing with you. So right. He needs to go. So I had a lot of examples about how to treat a man and what men need. I actually had men in my ear telling me that. I had so many men expressing to me what they need. Even now, I talk to my brothers from my brother's friends who are my brothers. I talk to them. I'm a little sis, so they come and tell me things they may not tell the crew because I'm a woman and I'm a female. It's a little different. So I listen to them. I listen to the things that they talk about are their struggles and things that they don't, they don't like to see or don't get enough of. And that also teaches me on how to continue to love my husband. So I just had that male influence. So I'll throw the question over to you, Nat. Who taught you how to care for men or what men want?
I would say, I guess my mother. Predominantly, I didn't grow up with my father, so I didn't have my father in the household. My brother, he's the only boy. It's 3 girls, 1 boy. So he was our man in the house for a long time. My mom did get remarried. But it was my mother, just watching how she cared for us, how she carried herself. I did see a lot of love from her, catering to, like, us and other people. She was just always a help and a support. And I think for me, what was lacking was the other end, because I didn't have my father or, a lot of men around to watch and see like what I was supposed to get back in return. That was the part that was missing for me. So I wanted to give, be, you know, the best and do the best and, you know, be the ideal girlfriend or wife. That's always been the thing, like the ideal, right? Even to like when I was younger, it would be like, oh, I don't need a lot, you know. I just, you know, because the whole idea was, oh, girls always need all this other. Oh, I don't need a lot, just because I wanted it to be, you know, less confrontational or whatever else, right? Now I'm like, no, I need what I need.
Facts.
I need what I need. You know,
and you deserve it.
And I deserve it, and that's why I need it. You know what I'm saying? And even the things that I need ain't a whole lot. You know what I'm saying? Like I ain't asking for Gucci and Louis, but I'm gonna need your attention. I'm gonna need your time when I need it. I'm gonna need, you know, all these things, these other things that matter. But anyway, so I didn't get the opposite end of that. I didn't see what a upstanding man was supposed to do for a woman, but I saw what an upstanding woman, what love from an upstanding woman looked like from my mother. And so that was the thing that I had to learn, which is not to be a people pleaser, but to get what I deserve and to stand up for what I deserve, and that's okay. That's the things I had to learn. But definitely how to treat a man from my mom, watching her just care for everyone. That's where I learned a lot of that from.
Did you have any brothers or men, not brothers, like brothers, actual like blood? I'm talking about like men in your life that you can look at and say, oh, that's a good brother. I like what he's doing. And I like a man to treat, I want a man to treat me like this brother in particular.
I did. So my brother, always a good guy. We never really talked about like dating and like all of that stuff. We just never really talked about all of that. Like we do now that we're older.
But no, like other black men, like in college. You know, like
but other black men, yes. So when I was younger, I hung out with. I guess I was more tomboyish. I guess I hung out with more guys than girls back then. I had male friends like in high school and stuff like that. And then my first, and the thing was, I never dealt with too many too many a-holes when it came to relationships. Because even though I was kind of like a people pleaser, you know, and I didn't have that male part in there, for the most part, I still didn't take a lot of stuff. It was like, you can get away with some stuff, but I'm gonna shut you down at a point. But my first real, I'm gonna say my air quotes, real boyfriend was for a bulk of my life. I had a degree in this man. We were together for like,
you said a degree,
5 years, like 4 or 5 years. Yeah, we were together like 4 or 5 years. We were together from my sophomore year of high school to my sophomore year of college. Like legit, 4-year degree, got a bachelor's in this man. And but for me, everybody after him, and that was pretty early because before then, wasn't nobody for real. You know what I'm saying? Because that was sophomore year of high school. he was the pinnacle for me. Like as far as how he treated me, he cared for me. Anything I needed, he would make sure I had. He talked to me with some respect and sense. Like he always looked out for me, protected me. Like he was a pinnacle for me. So moving forward, I had that as a basis. And even after like we eventually broke up, we were still friends. You know what I'm saying? So that for me was the ideal. And I'm like, and if you ain't giving that, then you ain't giving. Like so I was really lucky to have him for those 4 years because in that's what I learned.
That's deep. That's deep.
I had a sister. I had a sister who I would say she was the one who initially trained me how to get my shit together. I would not be who I was, who I am without her being that initial spark. And she was pretty much, you know, just like she was on this level back in the day of like college, of like the late 90s. She was that chick. She was like into like poetry and spoken word and black art and black culture.
Cafe snapping.
Yeah, and everything. And I wasn't exactly into it. I was aware of it, but wasn't into it. I was still youngish, hanging out with my peoples and everything. And I liked her, definitely was attracted to her. that spirit, and she was just so like, to me, she was like gorgeous. I was like, and she was talking to another guy, so I didn't really look at her past that point. I was like, oh, she was somebody else. Once opportunity came for me like to hang out with her more, I went with that. But in the process of doing, I took my shot. But in taking my shot, I learned through her basically teaching me and telling me on what she liked and what she didn't like and how to, and I just kind of follow suit. This girl don't like just regular Kool-Aid. You got to put some champagne in it. You know, I'm just saying in general. I'm just making it up. I'm just saying, but it's just like, you just couldn't come.
Wait a minute, I might have to try that. I just made
that might be the
You just couldn't come any old way. And it wasn't in a diddy way, wasn't a bougie way. It was just a way that for me at that level, it was just something that I was just learned to do. You know, we talking about opening doors and doing all that good stuff. She was my prototype of learning how to do all of that and perfect that and to treat her the way I wanted her, a woman to be treated with me and everything. And that was it. So I learned from her. So when I dated other people after that, that was my mentality. I never deviated from that because that was the initial thing. Plus, she also not only reciprocated that appreciation, which was new to me, but he gave me one of the best birthdays I ever had when I was growing up, younger. You know what I'm saying? She got me like cards and stuff. I still got all that stuff somewhere. You know what I'm saying? All this cool stuff that I never had before. She was the first person to actually do something for me. So that was like, okay, I know, you know, how to receive. Well, even now I'm still uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable receiving.
You learning.
You know how I am about compliments. I'll just be like, whatever, you know, but you know,
let's talk about that for a second, because there's plenty of times I'll be trying to, you know, let my brother know that I'm proud of him and stuff. And I could tell the awkwardness, and it'd be like, dude, but I'm saying that I'm proud. Like, it's okay.
And he like, yeah, whatever. All right, cool.
I mean, like, that mushy stuff off me, you know?
But, yeah, but it's like, you know, I mean, I'm definitely appreciative and I'm grateful and I'm happy, but I don't know why we don't do the mush, or we don't just, you know, we sit there kind of like, you know, oh, thank you, ma'am, you know, I appreciate it.
Don't nail me.
No, I'm just saying, like, you know, that's what I do. It's like you just happy for the appreciation and recognition and whatever and the love, and you take it. And you good because you don't have to receive it. So that's always been me, no matter what. The best definition is bashful about it, you know, and I'll just take it, you know, like, you know, no matter who it is, you know, oh, you so sweet, you're so handsome or something. I'll just be sitting there like, oh, you know, like, thank you.
Just revert back to Lil Drake.
Yeah, like, you know, what do? You know, even my girl, she be doing all the cutesy stuff. I be like, I'm not doing that, you know.
I'm not doing that.
I mean, the look that he just gave
right, he went to Lil Drake.
I sit there like, I love it, I appreciate it, but I'll be sitting there like, she be saying something to me, I'll be like, I'm not, like, what are you supposed to say back? Like, it sounds like,
what do I do?
You're not supposed to say anything. You're supposed to immediately go to the room and ravish her. I'm just joking.
Oh my God. Oh.
He took off the glasses. He like, Lord.
Oh Lord. I want to see listening. Oh no. Okay. I know that.
Like night, time to go.
I'm joking.
Shout out to all of us being forwarded on this screen right
now.
Listen, and the more as the days go, I'll be in here hot. I don't have my glasses on. I'll be like, I can't see. Why can't I see the screen? Because some days I forget I don't have them on, and I'll be like, why is everything?
I can't forget I ain't got my glasses on.
Right.
I know immediately when they not on my face.
I can't see.
So if something's close up on me, I'm gonna get cross-eyed and it's like a big old blur. But I could see from here to the Lake Michigan and probably read a page.
I'm opposite. The only time I could forget I ain't got my glasses on is when my phone is this close to my face.
Oh, see, I can't see a thing. If it's close, like I ain't gonna be able to see it. But if
it gotta be close.
I could see far, like I could see really far visibly, like clearly, but that up close, like
opposite of that.
It hurt my eyes and everything. Well, we ran a little bit on this episode.
We was talking.
We was talking, right? I love having Dre on here, even though he won't officially take his title. We all know the truth. We all know that you are, in fact, co-hosts. Also, like you are a male correspondent for We Gon Talk. Okay, so
he's our in the field correspondent.
He's right.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I enjoyed it. I appreciate it. It was good because we talked about the stuff because I agree with everything you guys are saying about the whole marriage thing. About it's not our business, and I think that a lot of these celebrities have got things going on that we would never know about, and they live just like we do, and they deal with all of this stuff. I mean, can I back up for a moment real quick?
Go ahead.
I don't know if y'all talked about this whole Nia Long situation with her guy.
We did not.
But
we did not. Oh Lord. Okay, stay with us for We Gon Talk for this hour.
No. I just want to say I just want to say that like it just baffles me. Like for me, as a male who has been a Nia Long fan, crush person forever, you know what I'm saying? To see something like that is definitely devastating for me. But at the same time, it's reality of
Halle Berry got cheated on too.
Right. I won't say Halle Berry. All the other people got cheated on.
Beyonce got cheated on too.
No one in celebrity world is exempt, unfortunately.
Nobody.
And you don't want to, and you just don't want to see it. The only person that and then they wasn't married anyway, but even still, I just don't want to see it. I don't want to see nothing happen to our Obamas. Let's just pray for that.
Boy, them Obamas gonna divorce. The world is gonna cry.
If the Obamas go down,
they'll cry for Queen Elizabeth.
You hear me
talking to you?
Right, exactly right. We be sitting there, everybody be together having crying parties. Be sitting there,
Let me say this about that and the whole like fidelity thing. First and foremost, I do not look at infidelity the same way that I used to look at infidelity. I used to be very much like gung-ho, like absolutely not. But over the years, I don't look at it the same way. I won't go into that conversation on this We Gon Talk because I know that
we'd be talking.
And it's gonna be a lot of people like, what she mean by that? And no, I'm not saying that I give my husband free reign to go out here and do whatever.
I know that ain't happening.
But even if you did, that's your business.
Even if I did, that's my business, right? But I'm just saying that I think that even when we talk about fidelity, I think what people take out of that is it's the being with another person that really is the hurtful part. It's the being deceptive about it. It's the being dishonest. It's the not giving people an informed decision. A way to have an informed decision on if they want to or not. Before we got married, I literally had a conversation with my mate and said, if it comes to that, just come give me a conversation. Like, let's talk about it. And I meant that. And I stand on that.
She said, let's talk about it.
I said, let's talk about it. Because to me, I view that as there being a disparity or there being a deficiency somewhere in a relationship.
Where you feel like you need to.
Where you feel like you need to go outside and get it. So come and have a conversation with me first. Like, give me the opportunity to understand and to see if it's that deficiency thing or if it's a you thing. Because sometimes it could
be a you thing.
It could be a you thing. Sometimes men and women are just out here and they just like to have who they want to have when they want
to be out here.
Judging nobody on that. Like, that's your prerogative, but it's not always.
And my thing is, if you like to be out here, find somebody that like to be out here too, or that's okay with you being out here.
That you evenly yoke with, and y'all can go out here and live your best lives together and separately.
Or somebody that don't care if you like being out there.
I mean,
because they exist too.
it needs to just be a conversation. And I think that that's what it is. I think that what people don't realize, when you do that, you take a lot of choice away from people, and they have the right to make choices over what they want to deal with and what they don't. And so when people,
because then people's excuse for cheating is always, well, they didn't want the person to leave, but you left. You just got back from cheating. Like, you was gone. Why should they
just
stay
to differ for
glad?
some people, it ain't even about them leaving. They don't want them to do the same thing to them. So they don't want to have to be cheated on, because it's a whole lot of tit for tat now. Like, a lot of women ain't gonna just leave now. They're gonna be like, okay, you out here doing whatever, I'm gonna do whatever too. And
so this is what we doing now?
That's what we doing. So it be that too. Like, I don't want it, they don't want what's good for the goose is good for the gander kind of a situation. To Dre's point, and y'all speaking on the Obamas, if it did happen with the Obamas, I still would be unfazed. I would not cry. I would not feel hopeless and that nobody could last, because
they human like everybody else.
I'm finna say, like, celebrities are human beings with more money than most people have. The Obamas are human beings with more money and prestige than the average person will have, but they are imperfect. They are human beings that go through things no different from the average person. So I don't put a lot of stock into how others navigate their lives, or it being like a marker for me, or on my hopefulness or hopelessness. Like, when everything happened between Jack and Will, I wasn't in despair. I was like, damn, it must have been some real trying times for them to get that way. I saw them as human. Everybody else were disappointed because they needed to have something perfect to aspire to have. But ain't no marriage perfect, because the people ain't perfect.
It really ain't. And our generation is so different. Our generation in general is just so different. Back then, divorce wasn't an option. Now it is. It's just that simple.
Yeah.
It could be separated, living in the same house, but no, divorce is.
Oh, a lot of people's grandparents was. Now, how many of y'all grandparents slept in separate rooms?
Not until they got sick. Nope.
I didn't say every grandparent. I said how many.
No, man.
I know plenty of grandparents that had their own separate rooms.
But you know what? I know people, friends, that are like, they want to get married, like be married, be with their person, but have a whole separate apartment. Like, you live upstairs and I live downstairs.
Yeah, that's something different.
People, it's a real
that's movement. Something different right there. I don't know if I can.
They like, I love you and I want you close. I just don't want you that close. Like, go upstairs.
Give me my man. Give me a man cave. Give me a man cave in the basement. I'll be out your way. Don't worry about it.
I don't need a whole nother apartment.
Right.
It's a whole movement.
Get you a she shed. Get you a she shed in the back. Hook the garage up.
You know, I've been having this argument with Robert. Why I gotta be in the backyard in a she shed and you get to stay in the house and have the man cave in the basement? Why you can't make a?
I have an answer. I
have the basement. Like,
I have an answer.
We in Chicago. We ain't living in where it's warm.
I have an answer. I have an answer.
In the middle of a blizzard.
I have an answer.
What's your answer, Dre?
It's all about the design, the execution, and the keyword insulation. You will be all right.
He said insulate.
Oh, okay. Well,
put your boots on, go outside.
He's gonna be locked in his man cave, and I'm gonna be. I hope he got a fridge and a stove and somebody down there cooking meals. Because if I gotta go in the backyard and put my boots on to go have me some peace from peace in the backyard,
a mini fridge and an air fryer.
Go downstairs.
And he'll be good.
Okay.
Look, a mini fridge and an air fryer, he'll survive. He'll be all right.
Look, Dre out here speaking for you, producer. He got you. He gonna DoorDash you some eats, cause I hope I let them in too. Cause like, why I gotta go outside? Why I ain't no puppy. Why I ain't no puppy? I don't want no. What it is.
No, I got a whole new perspective of that now. Like,
right, everything just changed.
Like, I can't say nothing else.
And then here he go in the comments. Women everywhere were wanting a she shed after that commercial. Now don't nobody want this. Hell no, because not only is it cold outside, Carol burned her she shed down. He burned it. I know he did.
Hey, listen. This is the benefit to going outside.
I ain't going outside now.
Listen, Linda. This the benefit of being outside. He could be easily interrupted by people just walking downstairs. They got to come outside to travel to you.
Girl, that's shit. Let me tell you something. They daddy could be sitting on the couch and I could be in a canoe on Lake Michigan and then kids are gonna put on life swim to the canoe.
I'm about to make a Facebook post dedicated to you right now.
They gonna walk right past him. The other day we was sitting on the couch.
Go rent a kayak and go to you on Lake Michigan before they go to their daddy sitting on the couch.
This happens at least once a week. We was sitting on the couch side by side watching TV, and the kid comes in here talking about a bug on the ceiling. Robert is 6'2". I am 5'3". They walk past the giant and ask the dwarf to reach the damn spider on the ceiling. I was like, do you want me to defy gravity? Like, you have a whole tall parent here. Like, why would you ask me? Like, why wouldn't you ask him? Like,
because you set the precedent. You already said once you set the precedent, it's hard for them to change.
So, to your point, then, a she shed ain't
gonna help. That's not gonna help. Ain't no. They're gonna be right out there in them boots.
Ain't no river wide.
And knocking on she shed though.
Kids from getting to me. Okay,
they ain't no mountain high, you know.
They gonna put a whole snowsuit on and come to the she shed, and they ain't gonna even reach downstairs. They ain't gonna even yell downstairs. They gonna come find me in the she shed, all bundled up like a Christmas story for assistance. So yeah, they ain't finna make my job harder. I get the man cave, you get the he shed.
Go ahead. In that order.
In that order. Period, boo. Period.
I think for me, just to sum up my thoughts on this thing on divorce and placing blame on people, you can't place the blame on anybody because you don't know what it is. Like, you don't know what happened. You don't know the logistics. You weren't there in the shoes. And even if one of them told you the story, even if both of them told you the story, you still don't fully know because you weren't there. Okay? And then, outside of that, mind your business. And then outside of that, I think we just need to rearrange our minds and let go of the trauma that has been passed down and the misogyny that has been passed down on the He-Man Woman Haters Club, okay? Because like, we don't live there, we don't subscribe to that. Everybody, men and women, deserve to have peace, deserve to live their full best lives, and they should not be shackled to anyone who is not subscribing to that as well. Have conversations before you say I do, or even get in a serious monogamous relationship with somebody. Yes. Because I said I need to be damn near married before I say we go together, because I need to know that I can see myself spending the rest of my life with you. And if you ain't showed me that, yeah, we kicking it. You feel me?
We hanging
in that order. I need a date proposal. You feel me? Will you be my girlfriend? I need one of those, and I need to agree in order for us to be together. Because I'm serious though, y'all. Because I need to know. I need to know for me in the place that I am in my life right now, that we are going to be aligned. That you can add to me and I can add to you. That you are working actively towards your healing and all the other non-negotiables, right? I got a baby. I need some money. What Carly B said?
You said.
Listen. All of the things, you know what I'm saying? All of the things.
Is my alter ego, so you know.
You feel me? I had to quote for the one time. But if we can't align, then that's okay, and we're not gonna waste either one of our time. I think the thing is, people don't want to be alone. They hop into relationships and be like, "This is good enough," and then good enough turn into trash, and then they get a divorce. I'm gonna be honest. And so when we have these conversations as adults, we have to make sure that we have them fully, we have them wholly, and we don't commit to something that we ain't trying to be into. And it's not just because I'm lonely. It's not just because this is convenient. We really have to be okay with being by ourselves.
It's not because it's the next step in life, you know.
Because that be too many answers. Like, real life people say that as a response. That was just the next thing to do. We was together for 5 years, so we had to get married. No, you didn't.
You didn't have to.
Not if y'all ain't want to be married or needed to be married. Like, stay single. Some people, also, that's another point. Some people just need to stay single. We talked about cheating. And like, some people cheating is a non-negotiable. To other people, cheating is not a non-negotiable. In whatever form you in, talk about it with your partner and figure that thing out. Because some people don't even consider cheating. Like, they like, if you out here doing your thing, baby, and I'm out here doing my thing, they swinging. They like, it's whatever we want to do. I see you when you get home. High five. You know what I'm saying? And that's cool too.
Because cheating is being deceptive. It's
right. If everybody know what's going on, it's not cheating. Y'all just living y'all lives. And that ain't nobody's business either. You know what I'm saying? If y'all both got 3 girlfriends apiece, that don't make nobody's difference. That's y'all life. Okay, long as y'all happy and healthy over there and everybody else is too, them girlfriends cute too. You know, everybody's winning.
Live your life. Say, if I want to take a guy home with me tonight, it's none of your business.
And it's none of your business.
You sell it on the weekends. None of your business. I'm telling
you. None of your business. And like, that's for real, because I think other people, the constraint too on marriage and sometimes divorce is because we are so concerned about everybody else's perception of marriage. That is your marriage. Even if y'all ain't married that yet, that is your relationship. Your relationship, your marriage, your situationship, your whatever it is yours. And you have to define that with the person that you are with. And if you don't clearly define that, if you don't clearly set your boundaries at the door, and if they start to shift, rearrange, and discuss them things again, then it's going to end up in divorce. Unless you have a partner that can continue to shift and move with you. If you don't, then that's the problem. I think that's the thing about divorce, and that's the thing about marriage. Marriage, when people say people get divorced, it's like they're giving up, because it takes 2 people. I said this earlier. But the thing about a marriage or a relationship, for it to be long-standing, it has to have 2 people actively open-minded and working towards that relationship's greater good. If you don't have 2 people in a relationship working towards this greater good, communicating and actively shifting, sometimes on a daily basis, then you ain't got a relationship and you need to go.
Thanks. I think that in wrapping up, I want to also emphasize on the whole point of what you said about it being a unique experience. Marriage is a unique experience to those 2 people or multiples, for those poly folks out there that, you know, have made those agreements with each other. And it's just within those people. It is not within society and the public and what they think and feel, because your opinion doesn't matter. Really, I mean, none of your business, really none of your business. But also, I just really want to caution folks to not be comparing your situations to other situations. Like, that's in so many things, but especially important in marriage. Like, I think we spend a lot of time looking at people's relationship next to us. Like, I was a huge advocate against relationships goals when it was the whole relationship goals thing going around. I'm like, stop it, because make your own goals. Like, what somebody else goals may not be my goals. Like,
now, you know what? I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't have relationship goal. I just love Dre's face right now.
You like who? Oh, Dre's
face. I didn't know if he was frozen or just in deep thought, but it was just
I'm here because I'm listening, because the relationship goals thing was like, I think it was just hype, because I remember when Ebony magazine used to have the black couples of the year and all the good stuff like that. None of them suckers are together now, except for maybe Boris and Nicole. That's about
they holding it down, okay.
A lot of them, and Will Smith is barely hanging on. So what? A lot of them aren't in the mix anymore. Go back, look at those covers. And then,
here's the thing.
But my thing, this is what I was gonna say though.
Let me finish.
I just want to say this about that part, then you can finish. When it comes to relationship goals, I am not for the goals as far as idolizing the people. When I look at goals, I'm pulling specific characteristics or traits that I would like to have in a relationship, like if it's commitment or if it's affection. But it's not the people or their status or whatever that means. It's like, you know what? I want that type of energy. I want that type of that.
But that's the thing. We don't know if that energy is genuine and if that really is the energy or what other things are lacking. So there's a lot
Right.
of.
That's why it's not about those people. It's
So
just about what I want.
I hate the relationship goals thing, period. I hated the movement. I thought it was ridiculous. I think that we all need to stop constantly comparing and idolizing certain things and putting certain things up on a pedestal. We need to stop comparing what somebody else is doing and saying that that's what we should be doing. Now, if you want a particular thing, say that that is your personal relationship goals, but just to see somebody else kind of having these things, I think that in doing that, you dehumanize those people and you don't give them the space to be human and make mistakes, because now you've put this responsibility on them to uphold this goal or this, fantasy that you've created. And that is not fair to them. That is exactly what happened to Will Smith and Jada. Like your marriage is hard enough. Then you have to live it in a public. Then you got all of these people that have this expectation of you that they shouldn't have this expectation of you. It makes it impossible for you to just be human and make mistakes and for you to figure it out, because marriage is a journey. I am completely different. I got married at 20, almost 29.
I don't see the problem with Will and Jada's marriage.
I don't see, well, I ain't gonna say that. Issues. But I don't think it's issues that's within the marriage. I think that they both have some of their own traumas, and then they both have traumas that happen within the marriage, because that does happen. Like, I met Robert. We all know I met him at 20. We started dating and dealing with folks when we were 20 years old.
Y'all only been together 5 years.
I mean, I'm trying to tell you, it's been years. And who I was when I met this man at a party all them years ago, which we coming up on 20 years ago, that I met this person. It'll be 20 years next year that it was that I met him. I'm a different person than I was then. I'm a different person at the time that we said I do. I'm a different person from the end of the first year, and I was different by the end of the second, and then I was different again by the end of the third. Then I have changed. I have morphed. We both have over this entire time. And so when we're talking about the whole thing about longevity and marriage and ending in divorce, we also need to give the understanding that people are going to change. And sometimes the people that we change into just don't mesh well. And it's okay too. Like, they're just not compatible anymore. And that's okay.
That part
is often.
It's growth.
Very often. And if you can go your separate ways amicably, because one thing I tell Robert all the time, and I'm going to end my portion on this note. I tell him all the time, if it ever gets to a point in our marriage where I can't see him as my friend anymore, I can't respect him the way he deserves to be respected, and I stop loving him as a person, then I need to get out, because I never want to not be able to have those things for him. I never want to be to a place with him, not just as the father of my children, but also as this person has been my friend, has been my partner for many years. I never want to get to a point where I can't see him like that. And if it starts to get that ugly, then our relationship has run its course. And I really feel that a lot of that understanding doesn't happen. It becomes a tug of war. It becomes you hurt me, I'm gonna hurt you. Well, I'm bleeding, so now you gotta bleed too. And it just tumultuous. It just gets so ugly. And I think that sometimes it's just simple as we outgrew each other, or we're not in the same place that we used to, or we don't have that connection. And it's okay to walk away at that. It's okay to be.
That's what I hear when I hear what's that, unreconcilable differences.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's just that you guys don't want the same things. You're not in the same space. And that's okay. We need to give each other the space to figure that out and not feel like they have to stay in something because we put this expectation on them.
Or be enemies when it's over.
Any of that. It becomes enemies when it's over because of so much pain while you're in it. So if you can split amicably, if you can split with still having some respect for each other and love for each other intact, do that. It doesn't need to come to that. Dre, what's your final thoughts? And then we gonna hit off. It's been a long time since we gonna talk at a 2-hour show, but this was a lot of me. Talk about.
I appreciate the energy. I appreciate the invitation. I appreciate the conversation, and appreciate you, sisters. And I will see y'all real soon. And man, thank you. That's it.
That's it.
Hold on. You gonna be seeing us real soon, Drizzy Dre.
Go ahead.
Real soon. I
Go
hope
ahead.
I be seeing all of y'all real soon at this healing gala where the Sante Harding Tate Hunty is the entourage, okay, for social emotional learning.
Yes. Well deserved.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Where Drizzy Dre is one of the board members from the gods, okay? Yeah.
Doing my role and practicing.
It's gonna be lit. No, for real. Y'all get y'all tickets to the Healing Gala because we're gonna all be there. We're gonna all be there.
Excited.
Looking good.
I'm excited. And just, briefly, when I got the news, I was like, holy snap, like that's my baby. My daughter, it's her 16th birthday on the 16th. So I'm like, that's my baby birthday weekend. Like, I want to go do this. Like, I don't want to make her feel slighted. So I was talking to her about it. And she was like, are you crazy? You better go to that thing. Like, what? Like, of course I want you to go. Like, as long as we do something the next day, which is my actual birthday, like, go do that. Can I come? Like, can we come?
Right. She like, can this be a family event? What we doing?
She was like super hyped and super excited.
Oh, that's awesome.
It felt good. Both my kids, both times.
You're raising great people.
They really do make me feel like they're watching and they're proud of me, which is super important, right? I saw a post a couple of days ago where it was like, we spend so much effort about trying to make our parents proud, but we really should be focusing on making our kids proud. And I was like, that hit different. Like that
hit real different.
Hurt. I might have to have a show just on that because I think that's so true. And to know that I make both my babies proud, it means like everything to me. So the way her face lit up, it was like no question. She wasn't worried like at all about her birthday weekend being cut a little short for me to go and be honored. And, I literally I low-key cried because I was like, wow, I mean, it was just that big a deal for me. So I am honored to be accepting that Social Emotional Learning Award. I've been working on my speech and I'm super excited. And just, grateful for the recognition. It's been a very impactful year. I've also had, was published again in the Chicago Community
Activism
magazine. I wrote a really good article for the parents out there. It was the back to school issue, and the article is focusing on the parents that didn't have kids going off to college this year and feeling like failures, or the parents that have students that aren't straight A's or student of the month every month, but feeling like it's something wrong with them because they're not having their children produce in this way. And so it was a very hopeful open letter article to parents. So please buy that magazine, support, check it out. You can also get the virtual copy and physical copies. You can order them online. I'll post the link again for those that may be interested. And it's been a good year. Started a new job. We just out here just doing the thing. So
all real social emotional learning.
All social emotional learning. So I'm just.
That's why you getting this award.
I'm super proud. I'm super honored, and I'm so excited. And I love the Healing Academy. And y'all need to be supporting the Healing Academy. They are trying to provide courses, opportunities for our community, for folks that look like us. So, please donate, buy a ticket if you can. If you can't, donate, whatever you can, donate, because this is really for our communities. We trying to heal things as much as we can. So be looking out for those links. I'm gonna let these
we heal because we heal for real.
For real. For real, for real. Well, we gonna end this live. Thank y'all for who's been hanging with us. Uncle Gino, we love you. We know you got a whole lot to say. We're gonna have to get you on the show. You are also our other honorary co-host. So come through, spread some of that old school, some of that old wisdom for our viewers. And Dre, as always, but you'll be back. Oh, you'll be back because this is your home, Dre.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all.
We appreciate you. Well, good night, y'all. Y'all go chill.
All right. Good night.
Y'all go chill. Hey, y'all. Real talk. Since I connected it different, I don't know how to cut it off from the live.
You press the arrow at the top.
Arrow at. I don't see it.
Live.
At
At the top of the screen.
It ain't no.